The following presentation was recorded live at the Richmond Marriott in Richmond, Virginia for the 29th Annual International Association of Square Dance Colors Convention. This is tape number 17, BOF, Handicapable Groups.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Michelle Jacobs. I'm the caller for the Hunterdon Stars and the Mercer Archangels in New Jersey. They're two handicapable clubs. They are about 9 years old, and it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm thrilled that CALLERLAB this is our second Birds of a Feather session. Just to get the word out there, I think this is a part of square dancing that's growing in the midst of square dancing when we're worried about how to keep our activity going. Right now, last year we had our big convention, and the numbers keep growing, so I think there's an avenue here, and families and things like that, and this is definitely an activity that can appeal to a whole different set of people. So the handouts that I have, I'll be going over with you, and at the end, if you have any questions, and also we're still always in the process of trying to find more groups that are out there. There is, and I'll talk about it later, the U.S. Handicapable Association, and they're always trying to find more groups that are out there so people can connect with people, whether it be U.S. I was also talking to someone just from Sweden and things that they've done over there. There's a group in Taiwan and everything. So the more information we can get out and share with everybody, the better. So if anybody wants to share or give names or make contacts, that would be wonderful too. So for those of you who don't know, who are handicapable square dancers? I'm a special ed teacher, and I work with the developmentally disabled. So some of them can be mentally retarded, autistic, might have cerebral palsy, hearing and vision problems, whether that could be by themselves, they could either be blind or deaf, and that might be their only disability. Some it might be in combination with other disabilities. Also, I put sensory integration. For me, teacher-wise, that means a lot, but that's kind of how you take in the information around you. And some individuals have a tough time, some of it's processing, some of it's just, if things are very, very noisy, they can't process and learn that way, so there's different ways of helping them do that. There are some groups that are in wheelchairs, and some of those people are with and without disabilities. There are individuals with a wide range of abilities. Some dancers will definitely have the abilities to go on to mainstream, while others we have a handicapable list that we use, so they may just be able to dance that on a regular basis. There are individuals who are of varying ages. I'd say my youngest dancer is probably 20. My oldest dancer is probably in her mid to late 60s. So, and I know that the longevity in life for a lot of disabled individuals is getting a lot longer. So you'll find, just like our square dance population, it continues to get older also. What makes these dancers different? They require a slower pace. I find sometimes I'll turn my music down to maybe 43, pretty much on a regular basis. Depending, I do have a group that's maybe a little bit more advanced, and I try to move it up a little bit, hoping someday that maybe we could have them join some of the local square dance clubs. More repetition is required, and just like I went to one of the sessions this morning on learning and things like that, in your regular square dancing clubs, there's always lots of repetition. Well, here it's even more so. And I definitely believe in the full moon policy, I call it. If it's a full moon, you got to be open for anything that night. Sometimes you may think that you're kind of starting from ground zero, but that's something you kind of can't take personally, and you just have to keep going and just keep having a good time. Some individuals may be delayed in their motor skills, their social skills, their language skills, and their processing skills. They may even perseverate on things, like you're doing a move or something, and they'll either want to come up and talk to you about it, or just emotion. It's something that they want to continue doing, and that's just part of their disability. Their social skills, depending on how you are, whether you're a social person, some people may find it easy to deal with, some might find it difficult. They're very affectionate. Even some individuals with autism, and some of those individuals are known for not being as social, but I find sometimes, because square dancing is more social and there's more contact and everything, and actually I think that has helped some of that part of autism. I noticed some of Some of my dancers don't have any awareness of personal space. Like they say, you have like an area around you. Well, they automatically come up, "Hi, Michelle," put their arms around me. And some people would be able to handle that, some don't. So it's just something to be aware of if you're going to either call for a group or something. They, want to be in contact with you. They want to talk to you. So that's something they're not always conscious of. Some have disruptive behaviors. One of my dancers makes very loud noises. And if you were doing something like we went out to the National and things like that, and sometimes that might be disruptive to someone who's not used to it. But after a while, for me, it's just something that's commonplace and I've gotten used to. Some can be very stubborn. And then you do have some that may need their own personal space. So you kind of get to know, just like all of us, we have our individual kind of preferences and needs and everything. And it's the same thing with dancers who have disabilities. What makes these dancers the same? They love dancing just like we do, and to me that's the big part. They want to dance, and the relaxation and everything, the joy we get out of dancing, they have the same thing. They may be delayed, but they're not kids. Like, they have the same interest as we do. They're racing, they're into NASCAR, the sports and music and everything like that. They're out to have a good time, and they need the same structure, rules, and etiquette that a square dance provides. And I teach them, just because they may have a disability doesn't mean I don't teach them, like, you don't walk through the middle of a square. I teach them the same things we teach our students when they come into the square dance clubs. And sometimes they do get a little noisy. And I'd say once or twice a year, I call it a pep talk. It's like they just kind of need reminding, all right, you need to listen, and kind of why we're here. And that's just kind of something more to get their attention and things like that. And they love praise and hugs, even more, I think, than dancers at the other square dance clubs. And that's something, and I find myself, I have to keep, even as a teacher, but I have to keep reminding myself that they need the praise, they need the positive reinforcement. What does it take to call for a Handicapable Club? A love of the square dance activity, which is why you're all here. Lots of patience, an open mind, and the flexibility. And like I say, with the full moon, that's where that comes into play. Some nights I'm like, wait a minute, where are they tonight? It's just, and some of my angels kind of look at me like, okay, and it's one of those nights, and whether you just put on some more line dances, whether you just do more circle moves, you just got to be flexible to go with the flow. And sometimes you think that I do something wrong, but you can't take it personally. It's just one of those things, and you have to roll with it. What do the dancers need from their caller? A smiling face, lots of consistency, a night of fun, and a big one, accepting these individuals as who they are. You're not going to change them. You just want to share with them. They've become more like family to myself and my daughter also. Have a positive outlook, a good sense of humor, and a commitment to the square dance norms. Teach them so they're not disabled in a different situation. So if we've had some benefit dances, and that way they're able to dance with, the square dance community out there. And like, I try to teach them as much as possible so they could at least get through, and they're prepared to get through a square, just with the small amount of moves that they do know. And once again, they need a lot of positive reinforcement from their caller. Back to learning styles. Remember, there are different learning styles. You have to appeal to the senses when you call for the handicapables. There's the sight, hearing, touch, and smell, and taste. Sometimes it's picking things in the room that they can look at. Sometimes it's a sound effect of a move, or putting a sound effect to it, so it's something they can associate to help them. Going out and showing them. And a lot of these are things that you do with your classes right now, but even more so. Use your environment to help you. Spatial awareness is a big thing with the handicapable, and sometimes they can get very easily disorganized. So use what's around you, whether it be the walls, or like I have a place where I call and you can see the parking lot, but just, you're facing the parking lot, you're facing the forest, but use what's around you to help clue them in and help them be successful. Use additional props. I have made bracelets just with elastic for left and right. Left and right some nights is a biggie. And some nights, even when it's a good night, it's a big thing. helping them to know and just giving them the clue so it's one less thing for them to think about in reference to everything else that they have to process and everything to be successful. And the music and the rhythm and the melodic intonation helps. Kind of the cadence that we call with, that helps them. Something with a good beat to it. Something that doesn't have a very good beat might be a little bit more difficult for them to dance to because they can't. It's not helping them, give them a structure to kind of get through things. If you're interested in calling for a Handicapable Club, what do? You can go to a Handicapable dancer exhibition at the Nationals. Most of the Nationals now have had a Handicapable Hall. This year coming up, I know in Minneapolis they're going to be having a Handicapable Hall there. It may not be all the time, but I know they're going to be sponsoring one this year. And there are lots of groups out there. So go to an activity sponsored by one of the agencies dealing with individuals with disabilities. The ARC, the Association for Retarded Citizens, and most of your communities have an ARC, or it might be called something different in your community. United Cerebral Palsy, or the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and most places have Special Olympics. Just recently I got an email from someone over in Germany that someone had put in my direction. He's doing an exit, he wants to do, it's kind of like a one-night stand at the Special Olympics over in Germany. And I replied to him, and it sounds very exciting and everything, but that was it's definitely somewhere you can look, even if you're interested, and they have the Special Olympics every year, and they have different events, so it's definitely somewhere if you're interested. And I know they're always looking for recreational activities, and this is definitely something that's very good. Searching the web, USDA, they have on their website, they have an icon for Handicapable dancers. And they were here, I know, last year just finding out more information. And also USDA, for any of the Handicapable clubs that go to the National, will reimburse them for their registrations for the National to kind of help the dancers get out there and go to the Nationals, which is wonderful. So my group last year, we went out to Anaheim, and we got all of our registration money back and everything, which is great, so we could put it towards our, another trip, or put it towards outfits, or whatever it is, or somebody who might not be able to afford the trip that year. So that's been a very big help, and I know a few clubs have taken advantage of that. There is the U.S. Handicapable Square Dance Association, which I'm a part of. They have their website, and Dean's very wonderful about keeping it current and everything, and there's lots that introduces you to the association. I actually have a handout that I copied a lot of the stuff off of the site so you could see where some of the links are and where they go, and it tells you about a lot of the clubs that they've identified, and they're always looking to put more clubs on the website. Tells you about our Handicapable convention, which starting next year will be every year. Starting now, it's been every other year, but now starting next year, it will be every year, which is wonderful. It'll be kind of East Coast, West Coast. Gives you the list of calls. We do have a Handicapable list that if we go to a Handicapable convention, there's a list that your dancers should be able to dance so everybody can have a good time. They have an advanced list which they will have a period of time. It's maybe an additional, I think, 10 to 12 moves or something. So and once in a while they'll do an advanced tip or a couple of tips for some of those dancers. But this way everyone who goes to the convention at least knows the same things and everything. And for that, a lot of the dancers just going to the Handicapable convention is an experience because it's not their typical caller. So that's a totally different situation. Also, you're dancing somewhere different, and that's a whole new experience, but it's been a wonderful, it's all for them, and they've got lots of parties going on. Next year, this year coming up in July, we're going on the Belle of Louisville on a trip, so they have a lot of things. It's been a really wonderful experience. And also let you ask questions, and Dean will get you in the right direction if you have a question, or can kind of get it to who he thinks can help you out. How do you get a Handicapable group started? Locate the dancers. Like I said, go to your local ARC or UCP or the ones I had mentioned, Special Olympics, and, talk to them about it. You're a square dance caller, tell them the benefits of it, and there are definitely, I don't think you'd have a problem selling that one at all. Finding a building. I'm lucky I get to use through both of mine. I work through the ARC, so I have 2 of their buildings that I use on the nights we have dancing, so it doesn't cost us anything. and it's part of the recreation program, so it works out in a lot of ways. Finding a caller. I know some groups, there are a lot of individuals out there who are interested, but they're having a tough time finding someone. I know a few people have asked me if I've known of anybody, but sometimes it's been a distance problem or whatever, but if you know of somebody, I know there's always individuals out there who would love to have a caller out there to do it. Finding the angels, parents, local square dancers, volunteers. I've actually, a few of the parents, why I think this is a great activity is their families can get involved. And sometimes with individuals with disabilities, because of their learning disabilities, and sometimes it's, I think, tough, or sometimes it's a respite for their parents to have them go somewhere and do something, but this is something they can do with their children. And so a few of the parents that have actually come out and angeled for me have actually eventually taken lessons and everything, so it's become more of a family activity, which has been great. And actually I have a few square dancers who still come from some of our local clubs who've been with me since I started the groups, and they come out and angel, and sometimes it's an awkward situation. They don't feel like they can help a lot, but sometimes just being there, giving just a little nudge somewhere, or whether it be just jumping in a square sometime or whatever, is just enough. Like, you don't sometimes feel you need to push them all the time, but sometimes for me just having them there, like, so I can stay on the microphone and try and for everybody, but they can help maybe that one individual who may have an extra harder time, and that way they can get some more of the individualized attention that they need. How often do you have the dances? I have mine once a week for my groups, except during the summer. We kind of take a break. So, but that's up to you. Consistency, like I said, is a factor, so that's something you really need to think about when scheduling your dances. Sometimes when we have holidays that hit during the days that I have the dances, sometimes you can see that they've had a break for a week or two. Or like, not being there this week or being over the summer. Sometimes starting again in September you kind of have to review quite a bit to get back where you were when you ended at the end of the year. Insurance. If you have CALLERLAB membership, you're covered with the liability insurance. Funding helps the dancers have other opportunities. Through the ARC, I've been very fortunate. We, since 1997, have gone on a trip every year, whether it be to the National, whether it be to the Handicapable Convention. I know, like I said, USDA has helped us with refunding some of the money, so we could put that aside. And I know some of the groups, that's like their big thing, and they do different kind of fundraisers, whether it be candy or they're selling things and things like that. And whether, like this year, we have some money, and we're hopefully going to put towards outfits, so they can all, look the same and everything, and be unified for their demos and everything. God bless you. Clothing. Actually, just put the word out to your local square dancing clubs. A lot of the clubs have like their annual sales every year for new students and everything, and a lot of people know that once they have the sales, they go, Michelle, are you interested in the clothes? And I'm like, definitely, because I have so many different shapes and sizes, so I'm always getting clothes throughout the year. But the dancers have been wonderful about knowing that this is something that I do, and, they either give it to my husband or have a way, they'll give it to someone, they give to me. So they've always been very supportive. So you just mentioned to them that you need clothing, everything from, I take everything. In my basement, I've got, petticoats and petty pants, the whole 9 yards. What type of program do you do? Do you do line dances? How long is the dance is a factor. I'd say my one dance is probably close to 2 hours. The other one's about an hour and a half. And some of that was just the limits that the ARC has set on us. But you have to look at their attention span and know your group. My two groups are different. The one group I think can do a little bit more. The other group I find is a little bit more easily distracted. So actually I think the hour and a half is probably perfect for those guys. So you kind of have to know your group to know what the time factor is for their attention span, or if you break it up with a line dance, or is that too disruptive? So there's different things to kind of think about. Do you split your group? My one group I split, and I have a more advanced group, and I have a group that can probably handle like the basic handi-capable list. And the one group I've tried to split, and honestly that hasn't been successful all the time. So you get to know your dancers after a while. How many breaks do you take? I'd say for the 2-hour dance, I probably do about 4 to 5 tips a night, but I take a decent break. A lot of them just whether they need snack, and sometimes food's a motivator for them, but sometimes that's enough to kind of help them keep their attention. But sometimes you can tell when we've had too long of a break, and sometimes it's difficult to get back. to get them back a little bit. And you need to decide, what is your goal? For the dancers, of course, it's a night of fun to keep everybody dancing. What do you do when it's one of those nights? I've mentioned that a couple of times. So put on a line dance. Like I said, do more once in a while. I just go back to a big circle, just doing Alaman left and right and left grand and doing stars and different things like that. And sometimes you just, like I said, flexibility is a very big key. And don't get upset if you repeat a lot, because that's something that is going to, like I'd say, we have those handful of calls, and once in a while, depending on the group, I have somebody come in new when you're reviewing, or sometimes you got to go back and teach it differently. And just like with your dancers in your group, sometimes, you know, there's the different types of learners, so sometimes it's a matter of going back and doing it a different way, and sometimes that helps. Go to a Handicapable convention if you ever get the chance, or you know there's one in your area. The first convention was in 1988 with 350 there. The convention in 2000 in Williamsburg had 550. So it's definitely increasing. And this year is in Louisville, Kentucky. And I know there are quite a few groups. There's a lot of groups actually from Virginia South and in Florida and Georgia. And I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if the number went up. And there's actually West Coast has a very huge Handicapable program out there. And they've been wonderful, and the one next year will be in Reno, Nevada, so I know they'll have a large attendance of the groups out there. For yourself, have reasonable expectations. Don't underestimate their abilities. Sometimes you think they have disabilities, so you think, okay, well, can I push them? So you got to find the middle ground. Don't underestimate them, but don't overestimate them that you've lost them. And you get to know them after a while. You know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, you know, and cracking a joke here and there and everything. So they're very eager to please. They want to please you, you know, getting the acceptance. I mean, they come up, how did I do, Michelle? And just, you know, you did great. It was a great tip, and give them a hug and everything. But give them a healthy challenge, too. And like I said, when you get to know your groups, that'll help a lot. You're giving of yourself, so don't blame yourself if it's one of those nights. And, you know, they happen just with every other club, but don't blame yourself if it's one of those nights. And the rewards are more than you could dream of. Like I said, it's been 9 years, and like I said, they're more like a family to my daughter and I. My daughter has grown up around my square dance clubs, and it's been a wonderful experience for her as a young lady, you know, just getting educated about people with disabilities and everything. But it's been, the dancers in New Jersey have been very supportive, and they've held fundraisers for us, and so there's just so many doors. Like, they've given to me definitely more than I feel I've given to them. So I definitely think it's a worthwhile experience. And if you read when you get the chance, I don't want to read it this year. I started crying last year when I read it. This poem in the back, it was actually by Barbara McMenamin, who, there's a book called Alaman Left for the mentally handicapped. If you read it, it explains it very well about just seeing the dancers for who they are, and that's something that's really important. Just like anybody, you want to be loved for who you are, but these dancers even more so. So if you're interested, I have the U.S. Handicapable Square Dance Association is the website. Like I said, I copied a lot of the things off the web and updated it from last year because Dean's changed the website a bit. Also, Jerry Yerby is a caller from California, and he did a panel at the 46th National that I attended about organizing a Handicapable club. So some of the information is here is his take on things. He has records that he uses in here and the labels and everything. There's a couple articles in here about some of the clubs in California and everything. So please feel free. If you're interested, I have 2 of our program books from the Handicapable conventions, like where they've been, kind of tells you what our schedule is, how they kind of plan it. And up here I have just pictures of the group if you're curious, if you've never seen Handicapable, what do they look like? What do these dancers look like? I mean, you've seen individuals with disability, they look like, you know, everybody else. But I have some pictures of our group, some of the exhibitions that we've done. It was wonderful. Then at the Ramada, they even just welcome you as Handicapable square dancers. I mean, we felt so welcome there. And there's lots of different articles. I have the letter from USDA about reimbursing us for our convention fees. I have a banner here given by, there was a wheelchair group from Taiwan that came over to the last Handicapable convention. And that was a really neat experience. So feel free to see anything. Does anyone have any questions, anything they'd like to share? Jim?
Yeah, let me ask the question first, and then I'll share just a little bit. Jim Wass from Riverdale, Maryland. And so your basic handi-capable list is about 30 calls, something like that, and then an additional 12 or 15 to do the advanced version of it. But I wanted to get an idea of your teach time. And most of us here have taught regular square dance classes to a mainstream destination or something like that, so we got some idea of teach time. You're teaching 30 calls to your handi-capable group or whatever it is. Tell us how your progression works.
Actually, okay, go back to flexibility. I'd say to get where we've gotten today has I'd say there was probably about a core 10 calls that I called for maybe a good year or two before I could move on. And I kind of had to see the dancers and on the given night. And like I just introduced Star Through very recently. Yes, on the weekly. So, I just introduced Star Through, but that's something that is either right on the advanced list or right at the end of the basic list. But even, stars left and right, but I'd say I've been calling for them 9 years, but I've had to, it's almost like you're on a constant teaching basis, I'd say. Like, even though it's a dance, but I'm still reinforcing, like, more at the beginning of the night and things like that. So, but I know there are callers who do have more of a teach time, and I know I have a list of someone's calling list, and she checked off when she did it, but I think that's based upon the individual group also. And also, I've learned as a dancer to be a caller for these guys. I've kind of learned with them. So for someone who's been calling, like a lot of you who call on a more regular basis than I do, or call for, mainstream or plus clubs, you might find it easier to do more of a teach time to where I kind of base it upon the night, but that's because I'm not as much, I call for them and that's it. So that's more for me.
Yeah, to bounce back on that, I have a group that most of them are so severely disabled that I'm never going to get to a list that most of us are familiar with. It's like a perpetual one-night stand with maybe a few things that they know how to do: chase the rabbit, chase the squirrel. They knew how to do Virginia reel. I don't have to really reteach those, with the exception of to a few people. But I will never see Star Through. I will see right-hand stars. I will see right-hand stars. I can get them to do that sort of thing. I can get them to do a do-sa-do, and the new people, we teach that evening, and they blend right in. So it's essentially a perpetual one-night stand. And then a little commercial. I'm not going to say anything more about my programs. This is Michelle's show, but at the next national convention, the 51st in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I will be a panelist talking about taking a little bit different, talking more about program content and talking about a range of efforts that one can do from one-night parties all the way up through a club program such as Michelle does.
Great, thank you, Jim. Jim did some calling for us down in Baltimore for our handi-capable, and they had an awesome time doing everything that we did with Jim, and Hal also called for them. Anybody have any more questions, anything that they'd like to ask? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Tom Stone. I'm the program chairman for the 52nd National Square Dance Convention, and we are planning on having a handi-capable hall. Right now, we have not done anything to get it going. We are having a difficult time finding anyone in the Oklahoma City area that's interested in working with this. We're out searching. If any of you have any ideas or anything that you could give to us, we would certainly appreciate it. I'd like for every one of you in here to take my card, and if you want to help with the handi-capable, contact me and let me know, because we do need help with it.
Thank you. Make sure you take the website information. It has like where the clubs are located and contact names and everything, so maybe that'll help you, since a lot of them, like I said, are in the Florida area, so maybe there's someone who can help you out there. But yeah, please feel free to give me your card. I'd love to help out. Anybody else have any questions?
My name's Corbin Geis. I'm from the Penn State territory of Pennsylvania. Even though I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm in Lyon County. It's like shoot and pull with a rope. Sometimes I don't get anywhere. I need help in more ways than one. the type of dancing that I call to is I go into nursing centers, personal care homes, and assisted living communities. My other job is I'm an activity director at one of these places. And I do wheelchair square dancing, but the residents at these communities cannot dance. They cannot maneuver the chairs on their own. They have the nurses or the activity aides there do it. And when I got out of college, art school, I'm an art major and I'm an activity director, square dancing and the arts actually got me into this thing. I started doing 2 or 3 of these places, and within about 2 or 3 months I was doing about 50 different nursing centers, personal care homes, what have you, retirement communities throughout the state. Then it started doing the tri-state. I'm not doing it that much anymore, and I have floods of emails of people calling me saying, we can't get callers in our area to go into the nursing centers because activity directors have such a limited budget. Can you help us? If any of you guys want to learn music, timing, styling, and you want to get really great rewards like Michelle talked about, look into going into these centers. You're going to make lots of friends. It's a sing-along. It's a reminiscing program. You can get so much out of going into this. And I never take angel dancers in with me. Every once in a while, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say never. I take an angel square and we do a demo. Then we go right into the wheelchair dancing. I used to do 20, maybe 25 of these a month. That was my full-time job at one time. But now that I'm actually employed at one of these places, I can't do it. So I need more people to do this. I implore you, if you can find the time in your day and wouldn't mind 30, maybe $50 in your pocket here and there. Like I said, the activity budgets are kind of limited in the personal care homes. It's a little different than what Michelle was talking about. Please send me an email or talk to other people. I am now only doing 4 a month, and I'm having trouble with that. So you want to break into something new and have fun and make a little bit of money? Go for it.
Thank you, Corbin. Actually, yeah, Corbin's right. Money is a big, I volunteer for one of my groups, and one I get like $25 to come down. It's basically gas money, but it's well worth it. Anybody else have any questions?
Tom Sellner from Maryland. I do Chime School in Baltimore, and they're behavior challenged children. And their problem is they can't learn. They can't behave long enough to learn. But we've been able to develop, it's not much more than stars, arm turns, and they can't handle squares because they can't remember. They could maybe handle it for a short time, but they wouldn't remember it, so it's not worthwhile to have them in squares. But we do lines similar to contras and stuff like this. And actually, I've invented things that speak to them. I've had to reinvent square dancing for them. And consequently, we do have a pretty nice program. We have about 15 things that we do, which I can probably do to new people within 2 weeks or 3. So it does get to look. In fact, we got filmed by Hopkins, and if you didn't know any better, you would think that they were normal square dancers for the one square that we had to do. But what we really do, we need more people to do these programs. We really do. Especially what happens for kids especially, this is providing a learning form, an extra learning form that they're not going to get any other way. And we've tried to train some of the recreation teachers, special ed teachers to do that, and they're receptive, but they haven't gotten anywhere with it. So if we don't have people who have our abilities to work with them, it's not going to work. And in my program, since it's even less than yours, and the children are even harder because behavior challenge means that they can't behave either to learn. They can't behave long enough, and they have to. And so it's a very, very difficult to do them. But with the teachers there, they can restrain them if necessary. And sometimes the kids have to be restrained because they get violent. I've had my equipment practically destroyed once, but I haven't been hurt personally. But it's I have no fear of doing the activity and whatever. And the kids, most wonderful audience in the world. These kids are so happy to have this activity. It's unbelievable. You couldn't think of better fans or dancers to call to. It's just wonderful. I've gotten 10 times more than I've ever given those kids. But we need people who are interested in doing this. And we don't need people that are new callers. We need experienced callers who know how to teach, because it's not easy to do this. It's hard. It takes somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's the kind of callers and teachers we need. And I'd like to go and do some of these other groups too that are quite different than mine and have other experiences also. Thanks, Michelle.
Anybody else? Tekka, you said would you like to share anything? Okay. Great, thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming. CallerLab's been wonderful having this session 2 years, so thank you for coming. If you enjoyed it, if you'd like to see it, please put it on your critique sheet. I know they look at the critique sheets. That's why we're here again this year. And it's something just to get the awareness out. As Tom said, we definitely need more people out there to do this, and there's definitely, families and everything and it is the best experience. So thank you very much.